And today on Minnow at the Table, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Máiread McGhee, who is the founder of the Edit by Máiread, and its makeup artist, education, personal styling, and confidence coaching brand. And she's based in Galway, Ireland, and she works with women throughout Ireland. Welcome, Máiread.
Hi, Martina. I'm very honored to be here.
Oh, we're absolutely, and well, we're thrilled. We're thrilled to have you.
It's a pleasure, an absolute pleasure. And it's actually probably a dream come true and a pinch me
Oh,
moment. So
oh,
I'm
yeah.
chuffed.
Oh no,
Yeah.
we're absolutely, I mean, we feel the same. We're so happy to have you. And of course, the
Thank you.
last time we saw each other, we actually saw each other in person here in Boston. There was snow on the ground.
There was snow on the ground and I was like a little child. I was totally mesmerized by all the snow and it was fabulous. So it was, yeah. And we
Yeah,
had a lovely lunch that day. Yeah.
no, we did. We had a great chat. So I'm looking forward to continuing that conversation today. And I'm happy to report that the snow has finally melted off the ground here in Boston. Um,
Brilliant.
you have over 20 years of experience as a makeup artist, but your career has really evolved, and I mean, you has gone through a real transformation. So,
Mhm.
to us a little bit about that.
Okay, Martina. So I suppose initially I started out in a very different career altogether. I started out in the finance sector and a financial controller of a very busy retail sector. And there I had I was very fulfilled in my job and I liked it and I loved it and I was good at it, but there was always something calling me. Needed I needed something more creative. And ever since I was a child, I loved makeup. So I always admired makeup artists or hairstylists or something. I felt that they did something for a woman that I couldn't do in finance because it doesn't matter what I balance in a profit and loss. I'm never going to give you that feeling, those endorphins that getting your hair done, getting your makeup done can do for you. So this calling was at me, and I decided to take a leap of faith and retrain as a makeup artist, and I did that under the Georgina Price College of Beauty here in Galway. And you know what, Martina? It was a big step. People told me I was mad. People told me I was crazy, leaving a safe environment. But I thought it's a dream. And if I don't try and give it life, I'll always live with regrets. So I followed it through anyways. And I qualified with my iTech qualification. And I suppose my first introduction then to makeup artistry was in a very fast paced environment. It was in entertainment, where you really have to work under pressure. And regardless of what goes wrong, you have to stay calm because the person in front of you cannot know that there's something going on backstage. They have to go out on that stage and present themselves. So regardless of what's happening, time slots, anything, you have to stay calm. So that's how that happened. But I had learned, I suppose, how to be self-disciplined in the finance sector. I had learned how to stay controlled. I had learned commitment. I had learned resilience. So that all stood to me.
Yeah. So I was going to say, I'm sure you brought what you had, as you said, what you had learned in finance all the way through with you, because finance and going into makeup, two very
Two
different.
very different things, but sometimes the core values are still there underneath.
Yeah.
The training and the staying calm and all that kind of thing, and making the best possible presentation, which is what you're doing, whether it's makeup or whether it's presenting your set of figures.
Right. And then, Marie, was there ever a time, you'd left the stable job, and did you ever say, "Oh my goodness, what have I done?"
Oh, yeah, loads of times. Absolutely, loads of times. When you're in the stable job, you have the steady check coming in every week, every month, whatever it is. Suddenly you've followed your dream. And yes, you're here, you're doing this. And some weeks you are snowed under, there's not enough hours in the day. And other weeks you're kind of checking the phone and saying, is it working? Will I power it off? Will I put it back on again? So you had to learn to balance the two. And initially, then I suppose, Martina, when you're starting out in a career, you're saying yes to everything. But then you had to learn that no, some jobs just would not be worth it with the time and effort you would put into it and the financial reward you get back. But I suppose it wasn't always about the financial reward. And that's then why I took the next step.
Okay. So then let's go back a second to saying no, and because
Mm,
that's not always easy. So
no.
what would you say to people about, it's okay to say to say no.
It's absolutely okay to say no because realistically, makeup application is about making the person in front of you feel good, about putting a self-worth on themselves. But you can't necessarily put that self-worth on that person if you're not putting it on yourself. If you're stressed to the hilt and you're back to back and you've only X amount of minutes for an application, you're not doing yourself any justice or the client in front of you. So sometimes you just have to learn to say no because number one, it eases your stress, it eases your pressure, and your work is more presentable when you do that.
Right. And it probably actually, in a setting like that too, Mairead, saying no is actually, you're probably doing your brand, a service by saying no, because if you turn out a product that's, or an application that's not good, that's doing nothing for your brand.
Not at all, Martina. No, it's not. And I never wanted to be in a production line. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
want every client that I have to feel individual. I want them to feel special. I want that client to leave with feeling like they're on top of the world. And I can't give that to that client if I'm doing a production line,
Right, right.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, true. Because I mean, you're dealing with people. These are not. It's not numbers.
No, no, it's
Yeah.
not numbers. No,
No,
it's not
it's
numbers.
person. It's
Yeah,
person to person. Yeah. So then,
totally.
yeah. So how long, Marie, did you stay in the makeup industry before the next step? Because now you're in much more of a, I would say, empowering women, much more
Hmm.
of a leadership role.
Hmm. I suppose, Martina, what I did was I did that entertainment industry for about 10 years. And then I decided that I'd had enough because I could feel myself getting burnt out. Because you know what happens? You absorb the energy of the atmosphere around you. And while I'd be a very positive and upbeat person, I'd always try to deliver that to my client. Sometimes with the pressure around you that would come in around you. So I decided to start doing more bespoke makeups, like individual makeups and traveling and, done one-to-ones. And then that spread out into teaching people the application of makeup artistry and so that they could do it themselves because some people thinks it's very difficult. It's actually not. If you do it step by step there, and very basic and start off and get that right enough for you to do daytime and take it from there.
Okay, okay.
And that's what I did after about 10 years. So I started to work predominantly from home and then take it on a freelance basis.
And then wasn't that really very generous of you, Marie, to teach uh, people how to do their own makeup? Because then, in essence, they didn't need you. But,
No, they didn't need me,
yeah.
Martina, and I totally understand that. And yes, you could say, was I doing myself out of a job? I don't think so, because I'll tell you why, Martina. There is no advertisement like word of mouth. And if you have a satisfied client who came to you to get their makeup done, the pride that they feel when they can do it themselves and they pass that on to their friends, then their friends are going to come to you to learn how to do it. So it really is word of mouth. And to me, word of mouth recommendation means more than any advertisements you can take out in the newspaper.
So, oh no, I mean, true, exactly.
Mm.
And then, so do you, when you were, showing women how to do their own makeup and giving them the, I suppose the tools in their toolbox, was that then the stepping stone to, I mean, to the leadership and empowering women?
Totally, 100%, Martina. Because do you know what happened? The amount of women that would come to me and they say, oh, I'm going to a wedding, or I have a communion coming up, or I have a confirmation coming up. And it was actually an effort or a chore for them to be coming to do their makeup. They were doing it really to keep some other member of the family happy. And then there was also a lot of women who had taken a career break when their kids were small and were going back to work. Like, and I'm not being prejudiced here now when I say this, you know what I mean? But predominantly women, or maybe stay at home parents, we do lose ourselves. We lose ourselves a little bit because we commit ourselves to the house, to the kids, to the school runs, to the shopping, to the dinners, to everything. And we leave ourselves last on the list. And this is what I found that women had done to themselves. So a simple little ritual like teaching them how to basic skincare first. So if you can get somebody to do basic skincare, like a cleanse in the morning and a deep cleanse at night, for that 5 or 10 minutes, they are actually putting time and effort into their face. That's their self-care. And then if you can expand it out onto their makeup, and then, as I say, the day of a special occasion, they would come and get that done. They probably had gone and got their hair done before that. They'd even gone out and bought a new outfit. They came in feeling, I have to do this. But they went out leaving, I can't wait to get home and put on my outfit. You know, you could see the energy, you could see the excitement in their eyes. And when they give you that hug going out the door and saying, I don't know myself, I don't recognize myself, but I love it.
Yeah, no,
That's empowerment.
yeah, it is. And then Marie, what do you think we can do more to encourage women, not to lose themselves? Because it's not easy.
No, Martina, it's not easy. And a lot of people, if you say that or ask them that question, they say, my budget is limited. I don't have the money to do it. But yes, you do. You have the money to get up 5 minutes earlier before everybody else in the house in the morning. Open the back door, stand at it, listen to the birds singing. That's self-care. Boil the kettle, hold your mug of coffee, hug it, because that's your hug for the day. That is something simple. Walk around your yard and just give gratitude for the house that you have, the yard that you have, the family you're about to get out of bed. You're going to pack your lunches. You're going to get them out to school. They're all self-care tips. But I think sometimes we think it means, oh, I have to join the gym. I have to pay for membership. I have to buy the latest gear. I have to put on the tan now before I go to the gym. I have to look like one of these women that has my ducks in a row. I was going to say something else, but I'll just say ducks in a row, you know? But it doesn't have to be that, Martina, but maybe that comes with, maturity. I don't know. Because sometimes we're so caught up in the Joneses next door and everything that's going on that we'd forget we have it ourselves.
But then don't you think, and I think you've touched on it a little bit when you said the Joneses
Yeah.
next door. Uh, Isn't it hard, Mairead, we're living in this world of filters and social media, and I mean I talk a lot about social media here because I'm on social media, a lot promoting Manon, but I I I just think it's just, we'll say it's tough going on there.
Mm.
And and then of course, on the other hand, we're hearing, that people are just exhausted from, I call it the noise and the nonsense that, be your authentic self. So it's a real contradiction. So how do you see women navigating that, Mairead?
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, Martina, if the noise in social media is becoming too much, you need to say to yourself, that's not for me. Or else align yourself with somebody's page or somebody's, social media that is more in tune with you, because they're not all in tune. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I totally know that, and that's fine. But I mean, I have to be realistic, Martina. You know what I mean? I am a simple girl from a simple part of the country, and I just want to do the simple things in life. But it took me a while now, Martina, to get there. It really did. It didn't happen overnight myself either. I didn't just wake up some morning and everything was perfect. I had to work on myself. I had to be grateful for what I had. I don't have a fancy Jeep outside the door, but that's fine. I have a car and I'm happy with the car I have. So sometimes we have to be just happy with this, because to me, happiness is an inside job. And it doesn't matter if I had that Jeep outside the door, it's not going to change who I am. So if I can't be happy with me inside, it doesn't matter what I have materialistically, it's not going to change anything. So it's a mature decision to say to yourself, no, that's not for me. I don't need to be on that particular page at the minute. I'll come back to it at a later stage, but for now, it's not for me.
But then, Mairead, the work then that you are doing, and I know you're, Network Ireland, and
Mm. Yes.
of course that's how you and I have
Hmm.
connected. It's so important then to say to women, it's okay, we'll meet you where you're at.
Hmm. And Martina, that was probably one of the biggest things that influenced me when I joined Network Ireland, and I'm with the Galway branch, right? I had this perception that, who am I? I'm not good enough to be there. I'm not a director. I don't own a fancy company. I don't have shares in a company. What would I be doing in a women's business group? And I entered that room that night, Martina, with the biggest imposter syndrome that anybody could have. And that imposter syndrome played puck with me that night, so it did. It told me all the reasons why I was not good enough to be there. But that group, they don't care about labels. They don't care about titles. They care about nurturing you. They care about building you up, and they care about you believing in yourself. That's very important to them, that you believe in yourself and that you find the best possible version of yourself. And for me, that's what that group did. It lifted me up to find that. Because when I joined it, Martina, couldn't see the value of me.
And why? I mean, because you had such a, I mean, great, career in finance. Your,
Hmm.
your business was thriving.
Yeah.
So where do you think that I'm not worthy, or I shouldn't be in the room? How, what was, why was that gnawing at you?
Yeah, because I think sometimes, Martina, our head plays games with us. And it doesn't matter what our personal achievements are, they just play games with us. And like you said, looking at the social media, I walked into that room that night and I judged the people by the way they were dressed. I judged them by the titles that they gave. You know how sometimes they do a minute at the mic and people introduce themselves? And I thought, what do? I go up there and I say, I'm a makeup artist. And I was meek by it, but I suppose I wasn't able to express in words what being a makeup artist actually can do for a woman. But it was only the more time I spent around them women that became extremely proud of who I was. And God, Martina, since I found my voice, they can't shut me up. But
We're delighted. We're delighted. But I mean, I think that just shows how important Network Ireland is. Manover here in
yes,
Boston, Manover, we have the same mission, that
yeah,
you're representing your whole self. And we say when you come to
mm,
our events, you've no name badge, that you're
no,
representing your whole self. And I think too, that's why there's such great synergy between our two groups.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. There's no judgment.
Right.
And you see, I suppose we enter the room thinking we will be judged. We enter the room thinking that this is what's going to happen. We enter the room thinking that we have to be somebody amazing. But we are amazing. We're amazing in our own right. But we don't realize that ourselves because imposter syndrome is playing hell with us.
Oh, I mean, I completely agree. But I think too, you also have to think too, Mairead, you think of the Ireland we grew up in.
Oh, absolutely.
I was go to school,
Hmm.
go off to college, get the safe job, or if you didn't go to college, get, try and go to the civil service, or, it was all about being safe, have that safe job. Whereas now, I mean, the sky is the limit.
Absolutely. And now, like, we're taught to take chances. And like you said, Martina, the Ireland we grew up in, was very, very different. And for me personally, I grew up in a very, very protective environment. Like my father thought I should be in a glass case with little cotton balls wrapped around me and that people could just look in at me and wave. He didn't think like I should be exposed to the world in any way, shape or form. And I get where he was coming from. It was from a place of love.
Of course. Yeah,
But Martina, in the long run, does that do a child any good?
I know.
So you have to find your footing. And I suppose being in the right environment, then I suppose the finance sector, it can be a very safe environment because you're very alone, you know. So you're working pretty much on your own. And it isn't until I went into something like the makeup artistry that I exposed myself to the world. And then when you expose yourself to the world, you also open yourself up to criticism, which is another thing that can batter your confidence. Like we're all great when someone says, oh, Mairead is great and that's great. We can all take praise. But when you hear that somebody says, oh, do you know what? I'm not really cracked about her. She kind of drives me crazy, that one, And that's just their opinion. It's nothing offensive, but we take it personally.
Right. But yeah, and I mean, but you've said it there, that's just their opinion. But too, I suppose, Maria, that's how women hear it. Because you and I might hear the same message, but process it completely different.
I won't be everyone's cup of tea and they won't be my cup of tea. But like they didn't say anything derogatory. It's just maybe something like that one drives me crazy or, that one gets on my nerves when I see her on social media. But that's nothing bad. Like it's just we take that personally. And
Right.
we sometimes let that eat away at us. But that's it. Like that's our opinion. That's
Right.
that's on us. It's not on them.
No, and you also have to think of too, Mairead, it's, as you said, it's their opinion, and
Absolutely.
I find sometimes it's how we hear it.
Yeah.
It's how
Yeah.
we hear. It's how we hear it. Um, and then, Mairead, you work with women of all different of all different ages, uh,
Mm.
backgrounds. So, what are would you say are some of the maybe common insecurities you would see?
I suppose, Martina, one of the most common insecurities I would see is people think they're not good enough. But I kind of ask them the question, who are you not good enough for? You know, and the bottom line is, Martina, in their own head, they're not good enough for themselves, because they're comparing themselves to a non realistic figure, whether that is a bodily shaped figure or whether it is an aesthetically faced makeup or whether it is mentally, whatever it is. But when we say we're not good enough, who are we not good enough for? Ultimately, it's we're not good enough for ourselves. The families think we're amazing. Our friends think we're amazing, but we're having a bad day and we think we're not good enough. So for me, it's predominantly mindset, you know, and I think we mask the mindset with the hair, the makeup, and the clothes. And whilst all them things are good and they make us feel good, but they also have to make us feel good inside.
And then what tools, when you're chatting to women, what tools do you give women then, Mairead, to feel good inside, that it's just not this outward image, as you said, with the hair and the makeup and the
Yeah,
earring?
yeah. Well, for example, if a woman says to me, "Oh, I don't like my tummy and I don't like my hips, I don't like my whatever," if you're talking to a woman that's after giving birth to a child or two kids or whatever, her tummy is never going to go back to where it was. But she brought human life into this world. She brought love into this world. So that's it. But other people, like, it's just that their mindset is, it's so sad. And that's the word I'm using, really, is sad. So you kind of have to find something that they could maybe relate to, whether that's going out for a walk in the morning. Because really, Martina, fresh air is amazing. I don't think you always need to resort to medication. I think sometimes if you can see the good in nature, animals are brilliant. If you've got a little dog that you can bring for a walk, like, dogs are so rewarding. The feedback they're going to give you, or walking down by the beach or down by the water, nature, even rain in our face. If you stop and think about it, if there's ever a day that you had a bad dose of flu and you were really fed up of being just hemmed up inside, and to go out and to feel the fresh air in your face or the rain, it's so refreshing, you know. But it's you just have to work on them and remind them that those facilities are there. And I suppose really at the end of the day, Martina, it boils down to taking 5 minutes for ourselves to breathe. Yeah,
And
you know.
yeah, no, and that, as you said earlier, that it's self-care. It's not about money and joining the gym. That it can be so simple, as you said. Getting outside for the.
Absolutely. Or maybe even meeting two or three friends and saying, you know what, we'll go for a quick walk on the prom and we'll go for a coffee afterwards. €10, $10, whatever, fixes all that. And you could come back with a new lease of life. Do you know why? Because you met people that lift you up, you had a good laugh together, you reminisced about something funny that you did in the past, or you look forward to something you're going to do in the future.
And oh no, exactly true. And then having that, Marie, that community and that connection. That's huge. Your community is huge.
Your community is huge. Yeah, your community is everything. You can't just isolate yourself, because if you do, you're cutting off the outside world. And I know some people have got hurt in the past, with people. And sometimes they build bridges and pillars and barriers so high that nobody can get through. And that's fine. It does serve as a purpose that you can't get hurt again. But then it also closes you off from a whole lot of experiences. It also closes you off from a whole lot of laughs. It closes you off from a whole lot of time together, enjoyment, memories. And I don't think that one outweighs the other, that it's enough to do it. I think you'll be better off to try and lower the barriers and meet the people.
Because it's, being alone and being isolated. That doesn't help anyone.
No, and that's when the mind really runs away with things. That's when imposter syndrome really has a field day and really sets in.
And then, Marie, what are some of the women you've worked with? What are some of the biggest transformations you've seen?
I suppose, Martina, some of the biggest transformations I've seen is that people come in and they're just at a crossroads. They don't know where to go. They're just, everything is about everybody else and nothing's about themselves. And after one of our chats, or they want to come and do a one-to-one makeup lesson, I always say to them, bring your makeup bag and we'll go through it. And the first reaction is, oh God, I can't show you that. I can't show you what's in it. Like, of course you can show me what's in it. There's nothing in it that I haven't seen before. And then people sometimes are a little bit reluctant because they think I'm going to send them off to spend €1,000 on buying new makeup. No, I'm not. I'm not into that. I'm also into the fact that most makeups have a multi-purpose use. Like your lipstick can be used as a blush, whatever else, dual purposes. And if you can do that with them, and then they say to me, oh, I don't know what clothes to wear. And if you do the clothes with them, like sometimes call to their houses or let them bring some pieces to you, show them how to mix and match 3 to 4 outfits. Again, they're of the opinion that you're going to go in, strip their wardrobe bare, put everything in black bags and send them off out shopping. No, it's about mixing and matching. And sometimes an outside eye can see what you can't see. Because we're all guilty of standing in front of the wardrobe and saying, I've nothing to wear. Aren't we? And me included. Yeah, me included. When
I
I'm
do.
going out somewhere, I
Admit it.
guarantee you, my bedroom can look like there has been a break-in. The place is so trashed, and then I have to turn around to fixing it before I actually go out the door, But if we can just stop and think and mix 3 or 4 outfits for the week, knowing what we've upcoming, and it alleviates all the stress. It really does. So when you can see people doing that, see people taking 10 minutes out to go for a walk or have their cup of coffee in peace in the morning, get up 10 minutes earlier, I swear when you meet that person again, there's a different glint in their eye. It's game changing.
And that must make you feel really good then, Molly.
It makes me feel really good, Martina. And I suppose I'm not an expert, but I was that person. So I know what I'm talking about in that sense. Do you know what I mean? I'm not explaining it to them from a textbook. I'm explaining it to them because I lived it. And sometimes people can relate to you more when they realize that. They're not as intimidated by you as if you say, well, I went to college and I studied this and I did this and this is the way we did it. Sometimes that can be very intimidating on somebody.
And I suppose you see, you're real, Mairead. You're
Oh, I'm very real, Martina.
you're
Yeah, I am. I'm very real. Like, yeah, I
very
am. Yeah,
transparent and very, very, very honest.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, Mairead, just to shift it back to you for a second, when would you say then you saw the shift in you that, that, well, I can get up, I can do this, and you know, I mean, chatting with you today, I mean, my goodness, you have it.
I
You have it.
know, Martina, and this is the ironic thing. Most people that meet me would say in the last year or so, say,
Yes,
you couldn't have been quiet. You couldn't have been shy. You couldn't have suffered from imposter syndrome. They reckon like that when I walk in that I look like I own a room. Well, Martina, I don't. Because I'm telling you, before I go in, I take a couple of deep breaths and I say, right, girl, you got this. Go in and smile.
good,
Shake
good.
hands to everybody you meet because I'm telling you, that eye um, that eye meet, that eye gaze. You can tell so much by a person's eye, a good solid shake hands. And the more I did it, Martina, the easier life got to do it. It was intimidating at first. It felt awkward. It felt so out of place. And people will say to me sometimes, and it's not just like, okay, I'm a strong advocate for Network Ireland, Network Galway, but it's Mary Kay. It's any organisation where you can bring a group of people together that supports each other, embraces each other, encourages each other. That is it. That is just amazing. Connections builds confidence. And to me, confidence builds opportunities and opportunities builds bridges. Now, it took me a long time, Martina, to learn that didn't happen overnight. And I don't expect anybody to, apply it overnight. But if you do it in stages, in steps, it really does pay off.
And I suppose, you have to say to yourself too, going into that room, you're probably not the only one, Marie, that feels like that.
Oh, I know that now, Martina, and you can see the sign straight out. But initially, you're
Yeah.
so full of, and I'm going to use the word self-pity because there is a little bit about poor me. I have to walk into this room on my own. But so did the other 300 people walk in on their own.
And you know what, sometimes too, I feel hear people say, well, I'm a real introvert and I can't network, but introverts
Mm,
are pretty good, can be pretty good networkers too.
absolutely. Absolutely. And if you think about it, if you're walking down the street or say driving down the street, I know now we all have sat navs and everything, but if you had to ask somebody for directions and you were in a street where you really didn't like the look or whatever, you needed to get out of there fast, you would ask for directions. So it's the same walking into a room, smile and say, "Hi, how are you? I'm Red, pleased to meet you." Because somebody has to make the move. And if you do that and make eye contact and a smile, oh my God, a smile can open 1,000 doors.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it, and I think too, probably to say something about yourself, not because people want to hear about you. I think
yeah.
that's all. You think that is that a good tip, Marie, rather than saying,
I
"Oh,
think it's a good tip, Martina, but I think it's also to draw a fine line because people would like to say, "Hi, how are you? I'm Red. You know, I'm here tonight. It's my first night. I'm on my own." They don't really want to know your whole history either, because you know what I mean. That can just be
okay,
a little
I
bit
guess
too
if
much
I
the
was
other
on the
way.
run." So okay,
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just get the fine line between the two, like, But a simple introduction, and it is hard. It's very hard to introduce yourself because we've been so used all our years of people introducing us,
right, right.
you
And then
know.
I think, Marie, what can the people in the room, those of us that are in the room, maybe that don't find it as difficult to meet people, what can we do to make that person feel? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't want to say welcome. I
I
mean, maybe
suppose really, Martina, the best thing we can do really is to smile at people, welcome people, introduce people and say, I'm going over here to get a cup of coffee. The hostess table is over here. Come over and join me. And when you go over, then you're sure as hell you're going to meet one or two, and introduce them. And then if you have to excuse yourself, well, you've left that person with somebody else. And then you're moving on to the next person that you feel looks lost and alone. So really it's about navigating the room and working the room because you do become an expert at knowing who's in trouble, who's in bother, who looks like they want the ground to open up and swallow them, who looks like where's the nearest exit, I need to get out of here.
I
You
mean, yeah,
know,
it is easy. You can it's
yeah,
easy to pick people, pick
yeah,
people.
it is really. But I mean, at the end of the day, I feel in situations you get back what you put in. And if you come away at the end of the night saying, I made two people feel extremely welcome tonight, that's a great achievement. And please God, in turn, they will make two people feel welcome in another event or at another place.
And I think too, probably then to encourage them to do the follow up as well, because that's really important.
Well, the follow up is hugely important. Or if you know you're going to an event and you know there's a newcomer coming, maybe reach out to them that day and say, listen, I'll meet you in the building next door and we'll walk in together. You know, and as you said, definitely the follow up, maybe touch base a week or two later and say, well, what did you think of that? Would you like to go for a coffee? I'm in your neck of the woods next week.
Because it has to be, I mean, a two-way.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it is about, I think, bringing people in. It's almost like a hug that we're giving people. It's to make them feel wanted, make them feel loved, because that makes such a difference. If they feel that there's warmth there and that there's a welcome there, they will come back.
Yeah, because oh no, I mean we see it with Mano. I
Yeah.
mean, people. I mean, they come back because no more than Network Ireland. They come back because they've been felt welcome, and I guess
Yes.
goes back to what you said earlier too about being seen, Mairead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It totally does. Yeah.
yeah. I was reading that you're a finalist for Network of the Year with
I
Network.
am.
So
Yep.
talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, so we had the interviews there about 2 weeks ago. We've had to fill out an application form. Then we had the interviews about 2 weeks ago. So I think there's either 11 or 12 finalists in total in that particular category. And we have the finals on the 19th of June in the Salt Hill Hotel. So altogether this year, Network Galway had 65 finalists across
Wow.
7 different categories. Yes, which was a lot of finalists. But it's massive because you know what, Martina? It's not just the interview. It's not just the results, it's the application form itself that you have to fill out.
So talk to us
Now,
a little bit about that, Mairead, the application.
yeah, the application form really, it's the usual, like, the questions of, your name, address, all that. And then like in your business, what it is, how long you're in network, what network has done for you, all what you've contributed to network, your achievements. And it really makes you think. It actually makes you think back on your journey, because sometimes we meander along and we say, for me personally, yes, I'm 3 years a member of Network, but like, if I didn't actually have to write out that application form and fill it out, I may not have seen the achievement. I may not have seen how far I came from the first night I entered that event, you know?
It's almost like a
And
little evaluation for yourself.
total evaluation, and I suppose it's not all about achievements either, Martina, because probably two of my biggest challenges have now become two of my greatest resources. And one was to enter the event that night. My knees were knocking together, my heart was pounding. And I suppose the second biggest challenge I had was we did something last November. It was NetX, it's in the form of a TEDx, where X amount of applicants put their names forward and X amount were chosen. So to stand up on that stage and talk about yourself, your life journey, and it was personal, you know what I mean, was it 20, 25 minutes or whatever it was. Like, I put myself forward because I needed to take myself outside of my comfort zone. But I'm not caught now. I thought if I get through this, it'll be a miracle, really and truly
You're
a
ready for
miracle.
that.
By the time it finished, and the rapturous roar of applause in the room, and I didn't plan on making everybody cry, but it was the journey. The journey is what it was, and people seeing the transformation. And I can only compare it to me personally going from a caterpillar to a butterfly. And I'm so proud of what has happened, but I couldn't have done it on my own, Martina. I had support. And that's what I would say to anybody. Find your support. Find who you can lean on, because everybody there is willing to help, but you have to reach out. And on the days, we have a lady in Network that gave us a TED Talks a number of years ago, and was like, the borrowed belief. There's days you don't believe in yourself. And you might turn around to me and say, Mairead, I know you got this. So that day, I'm not really feeling it. And I'll go off and say, you know what, I think I can do this because Martina believes in me. So it's called the power of borrowed belief. So I think if people can apply that in their lives, and everybody has somebody who believes in them.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah. And I think the days that we just don't believe enough in ourselves, if we can apply that, or the days somebody belonging to us doesn't believe enough in themselves, if we just say to them, look them in the eyes and say, I believe in you. Borrow my belief for today until you feel strong enough, and then you can take it.
But then isn't that, Marie, how important words are?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Martina. And I mean words from the heart, words that mean something. I'd rather just say 2 words, rather than saying like 40 words that means nothing. Just, you got this, girl, or you can do this.
Because we always talk about, people do remember how you make them feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. They won't remember the dress you were wearing.
No,
They
no.
won't remember, that you spilled your cup of coffee and made us show yourself. But if you tap them on the arm and say, I'm so proud of you, you got this, they will remember that.
And then, and I mean, I'm not asking this,
Yeah.
5-year plan but
Yeah.
what's, what's on the horizon for you?
Okay. So currently with Network Galway, I am VPD.
Okay.
So I will be the president in 2028. And what I would like to do is to carry on the legacy that the other presidents have gone ahead of me. Our membership is on the increase, so I would like to continue on doing that. But I also want to continue on the legacy that everybody that walks through our door, forget the titles, forget all of that. We're all women together, and that we support and nurture each other. We build connections, we build confidence, we build bridges, and we carry each other along. And that's what I really, really want to do in my year of presidency. And I just want to make sure that everybody has a safe space and a safe place. Then personally, I just want to continue on empowering women. I want women, every woman should feel at some stage of her life the best version of herself. I don't want any woman to leave this world not having felt that. I really want every woman at some stage of her life to look in the mirror and say, do you know what? You're doing okay, girl. You look all right. And to be happy with how she looks. Because happiness is free. And we all come into the world with nothing, but we can leave with a massive legacy to the people behind us. And I just want us to be able to do that.
They're powerful words, Marie. Powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they're simple words, Martina, You know, they're very simple. It's very ordinary living, so it is. But I feel if we can pass that on, we're leaving a rich legacy behind us.
And because, you know, not, women, we don't always support each other.
No,
No.
no, we don't. But you know, I think that's a bit of a mindset, Martina.
Yeah.
I think when we find contentment in ourselves, we don't need to pick pieces in other people, you know.
I want to just ask you one other thing, Marie. So where do you see, men being our allies? I'm curious. We haven't talked about that. I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Mm. I'm not a big advocate, Martina, where you know we have men and women. We have men against
Okay.
women. I'm
Okay.
not big on that.
Okay.
I feel men, and it's predominantly women I deal with, you know. But I also feel men go through the same things in life that the women go through. We sometimes think men have their ducks totally in a row and they have everything together. And I know maybe that the pay generation gap and other things, but that's another day's argument. That's
Yeah.
not really my
That's another podcast,
department.
Marie.
No, no, it is exactly another podcast. But I feel they go through the same confidence issues that we go through. And, you know, if some women will turn around and say, oh, it's easy for men, they don't have this and they don't have that. They have their own insecurities too. And I just see us more as a whole, not individuals. Yeah,
All right. Well,
yeah.
Marie, this has been absolutely fabulous. I mean, you are doing phenomenal work. We wish you all the best with Networker of the Year. We'll be
Thank
cheering
you,
you
Tina.
on. And I'm excited. I'm going to see some of your great ladies
You are?
next in Galway.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I won't be there, Martina.
Oh, but I'll be back over the summer.
Yeah,
So Marie,
absolutely.
um, keep up the good work. I mean, it's just powerful what you're doing, and we're just thrilled to have you on today. Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
so much. It's been a huge honor. I've enjoyed every second of it. And enjoy your holiday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Martina. Bye bye.